think, all right, it's 9:39. Inshallah, we'll go ahead and get things moving here. Take a look at what we have for today, inshallah. Bismillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wal aqibatu lil muttaqin. Wa salawatuhu wa salamuhu ala nabiyhi al-kareem. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So today we are in the 25th Juz of the Qur'an. Hard to believe. Inshallah, a few more days. And the month, inshallah, will be over. I hope that if you've had the opportunity, when I say that we're at the 25th, it's almost over. It doesn't mean that we actually have to stop reading the Qur'an, right? Hopefully we can pick up some good habits in this month. And one of those is a regular engagement in reading of the Book of Allah. So I'm going to just to share a couple of verses here. I'm going to actually jump ahead a little bit in the Juz to the 44th chapter of the Qur'an. And I wanted to explain a little bit what was going on here. So this is in Surah Ad-Dukhan. And the name of this chapter is called... let me get Ahmed. There he is. So the name of this chapter is called Ad-Dukhan, the smoke. And what is, the verse itself addresses, right, this idea of kind of what does the smoke, what does haze, smoke represent? Smoke, usually, if we think about it, right, I mean, there's a couple ways and there's numerous commentaries on this. But generally, as we say, where there is smoke, there is fire. Where there is fire, there is danger. And smoke also obscures, right? So Allah talks about, right, فَارْتَقِبْ يَوْمَ يَأْتِ السَّمَاءُ بِدُخَانٍ مُبِينٍ. Be on watch, right? Irtaqaba from raqib, right? To be watchful, to be on watch for a day. تَأْتِ السَّمَاءُ بِدُخَانٍ مُبِينٍ. That there will come a smoke out of the sky. And again, what smoke usually, when we see smoke, it alerts us to something. And he says that what yaghsha an-nas, it will envelop or shroud people. Now, some debate, does this mean the word an-nas here, does it mean all of humanity, or does it mean some people? It's up for debate, right? It says, هَذَا عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. This will signify a painful torment. Now, of course, some people say this is, of course, talking about Yawm al-Qiyamah, or one of the portents before Yawm al-Qiyamah. But in that idea that it will what? يَغَشَ النَّاسِ. It will cover all of mankind. We are living now in a moment where all of mankind is being afflicted by something. And when whether it is the actual, dukhan, the smoke that the Qur'an mentions here, or whether it's the case now, this should be something that very much awakens us out of whatever slumber that we may have been in, and to recognize that Allah is real and that this life is real, it matters, and that we will be taken to task for what we do, both for the good, right, and obviously for the not so good. So it's it's something for us to, when we come across this, go, wow. You may look at this verse and say, well, this is yet to happen. This may be very far in the future. But then we're living in a moment that is a little bit similar to it. So something just kind of worth reflecting upon. Right? And that's because, when something difficult, right, we're in this situation now, when something difficult happens, what is the typical response of the human being? Allah says in the 12th verse here of this chapter, رَبَّنَا اكْشِفْ عَنَّا الْعَذَابِ Inna mu'minun. Oh Allah, remove from us this punishment because now we are really believers. Before COVID-19 hit and before we were all locked up, were we really making the best use of our life, of our time, of our talents and capabilities? If we're honest, we will most of us, even myself included, I would have to say, no, I was not maximizing. Something I always could have done better, right? So when you are caught in that, when we're caught in this situation now, it's a reminder to strive to do those things that Allah will be pleased with so that we can have something written in our book on our behalf and something put on our scale on the right side for our behalf. And we don't want to be like when those people say, رَبَّنَا اكْشِفْ عَنَّا الْعَذَابِ, oh Allah, remove from us this affliction. Allah's response to them says, أَنَّ لَهُمَ الذِّكْرَى وَقَدْ جَاءَهُمْ رَسُولٌ مُبِينٌ. What, how can they possibly be asking for a reminder when the messenger has been already sent to them? And in the same way, like we can't say that we don't know or we didn't know. Like we know that we're reading the Qur'an, we're fasting in the month of Ramadan. We cannot go before Allah and say, "Ya Allah, I didn't know." No, we know, and therefore our actions should reflect that. Even in this time of restraint or constriction, still trying to find those things, and then inshallah when they do. That's why I've encouraged, some people. I said, keep a COVID-19 journal, right? Write down, all the things that you want to do. Not like, I want to go eat breakfast over here and I want to go get coffee. No. All the things that you promised to Allah that you would do if. So if that if-then statement comes true, right? Have a record that you can hold yourself accountable to. And whether it was, praying more, reading more, giving more to charity, whatnot, right? Try to hold yourself accountable so that inshallah, once this is, lifted, that we can be truthful to our words and the oaths that we swear. And then in Surah Al-Jathiyah, right, the one that's called the kneeling, right? Meaning everybody will be brought to kneel before Allah. Everybody will have to bow down, right? Part of the journey to that is to not be overly distracted by what other people think, but focusing on what is it that, again, will be pleasing to Allah. So in this, he tells the Prophet again, right? Qul. Always remember when you come across these verses that Allah is instructing the Prophet ﷺ, He's teaching him and He's also teaching the people in a very direct manner. He wants the Prophet ﷺ to repeat these words to the people. قُلْ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, right? Not to the people who disbelieve, say to the people of faith, right? يَغْفِرْ لِلَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ أَيَّامَ اللَّهِ. Be forgiving of the people that don't have any hope in the days of Allah. What? In going to meet Allah, day of judgment, in the hereafter. Right? Let it go. Right? Don't let squabbles in life constrain your chest. What is this person thinking? What are they thinking of me? What are they doing? Do they have the same beliefs of me? And so, let these things go. And it's a command. قُلْ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَغْفِرْ لِلَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ أَيَّامَ اللَّهِ. It's a commandment from Allah to the faithful to forgive people that don't share the same beliefs of them. Let them go and focus on what you need to do in this life. لِيَجْزِيَ قَوْمٍ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Right? Don't worry. Everybody's going to be repaid for whatever they did, including you, including myself, including you. So the focus should be upon trying to, we're going to get paid, right? No matter what, we are going to get paid. Therefore, the focus should be on what wage am I going to get? Is it going to be for earning something good or for earning something bad, right? And then I'm going to jump back really quick, right, to the 41st verse because I want to look at this. This is in Sūrah Fuṣṣilat, and I want to look at this passage here. Allah talks about those who, again, when times are good, right? They're always calling upon Allah and they're always asking for something, right? This is an interesting insight into human psychology. Allah says, "What la yas'amu al-insanu min du'a'il khayr." Mankind never gets tired. La yas'amu al-insan. Mankind never seems to get tired. Min du'a'il khayri, right? In praying for things that he wants. Here, al-khayr doesn't only mean khayr like, praying to Allah to feed the orphans, right? It also just means what we want or what we desire, right? Min du'a'il khayri wa in massahu sharru faya'usu qanut. But then if some misfortune or evil touches him, فَيَأُوسٌ قَانُوتٌ, right? Qanut. He will become like, he will just lose it. He'll become desperate. He will fall into despair, right? And As-Sa'di says in his commentary, he says, هَذَا إِخْبَارٌ عَنْ طَبِيعَةِ الْإِنسَانِ. This is a commentary on the tabi'ah. The word tabi'ah in Arabic, Taba' means to stamp, right? Like if you, back in the old days, you'd sign a letter, put it in an envelope, put the wax, and then you'd put the stamp on it, right? Your signature, right? Right? So he says that هذا إخبار عن طبيعة الإنسان. This is like the signature quality, one of the signature qualities of the human being. And therefore it's describing what it is, what min حيث هو, where does it come from? وَعَدْمَ صَبْرِهِ وَجَلْدِهِ, right? And that it shows that mankind has no, even though we're commanded to have sabr, that we tend to constantly fail and we just don't have patience, right? We don't have patience. And he says, لَا عَلَى الْخَيْرِ وَعَلَى الشَّرِّ. Now this is the interesting part. He said, not only do we not have patience for when things are bad, that kind of makes sense. Like if you're sick or you go through some misfortune, of course you don't, you can't take it, right? And I had my tooth the other day, I couldn't take it. But he's saying it's not only for the bad. He said, what? وَعَلَى الْخَيْرِ وَعَلَى الشَّرِّ. Also for the good, meaning we're never content. Again, the tabi'at al-insan, right? The nature of the human being is discontent. And that's part of this life, because if you like right now, I'm having this wonderful cup of tea, right? If I let it sit here for long enough, it's going to get cold. If I let it sit for really long, it's going to get stale. It'll eventually evaporate. Or if I drink it while it's hot and it tastes delicious and everything, it's gone. And I'm going to want another one. This is the nature. We call this entropy, right? This is the nature of this life. So he says, إِلَّا مَنْ نَقَهُ اللَّهُ مِنْ هَذِي الْحَالِ إِلَى الْحَالِ الْكَمَالِ. Right? This is the nature of mankind, except for the one that Allah will give him this, right? Meaning we should ask for this quality that will kind of satiate him from this state of always wanting things to a state of where we feel kamal. We feel kind of complete. We don't get our sense of completion from things, from food, from objects or whatnot, right? We get our sense of completion from our relationship with Allah. So on the commentary, he says, "What la yas'amu al-insanu min du'a al-khayri." He says, "La yamullu da'iman min du'a Allahi fil ghana wal mali wal walad," meaning that we never tire of asking Allah for giving us more money, different forms of wealth, children, وَغَيْرِ ذَلِكَ مِنْ مَطَالِبِ الدُّنْيَا, and all the kinds of things that we ask from the dunya. And what he's pointing to is that we don't, or many people, they don't actually just ask for Allah. Of course they ask for relief and we need our rizq, or we need provision and so on. But this shows the tendency we can become very transactional in our relationship with Allah, that we tend to think of him as a ATM. well, if I act really good to him, and he's the one that has all the money, so I should act good so I can get some money out the ATM, right? Not really engaging with Allah on the qualities of who He is. Allahu Ahad, Allah is one. Allah Huwa al-Khaliq, right? He is the creator. He Huwa ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He is the most merciful. Huwa al-Bari'u, and so on and so on. Al-Awwal wal-Akhir. He's the first and the last. Engaging with Allah on the qualities of His attributes, not only simply from the fact that He is the one that bestows, and then becoming more focused on what Allah bestows, on that He does bestow, right? On that He does give, and that He is generous. وَيَقْتَنِعُ بِقَلِيلٍ, right? And therefore, that's why, he's always caught up in asking, and nothing satisfies him. Nothing ever seems to give him any sense of contentment, right? Whether it is a little or a lot. He says, بِقَلِيلٍ وَلَا كَثِيرٍ مِنْهَا, right? And this is, وَلَوْ حَصَلَ لَهُ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا مَا حَصَلَ لَمْ يَزَالَ طَالِبًا لِلزِّيَادَةِ. Essentially, just spend the rest of your life constantly asking from one thing to the next, one thing to the next, one thing to the next. And I think it's this verse here in some ways that is showcasing why so many people at this very moment are feeling so discontent about the COVID-19 issue. Yes, of course, it has disrupted our normal habits. It may have even negatively impacted our work and whatnot. But many of us are also just feeling this, what we're not really putting our finger on is we're just used to constantly having a nonstop succession of things entertaining us. From one latte to the next, from one this to the next, one iPhone to the next, one thing to the next, one toy to the next, right? And now that process has been disrupted. And we are left very bare and feeling very, very exposed to how empty actually our lives were before. We think our lives are empty now. Actually, our lives are not empty now. Our lives can actually have the capacity to be very full right now, challenges of homeschooling aside, if you have children. But we have the capacity to actually this is very rare, right? I mean, this is a very rare opportunity. We have the capacity to completely recalibrate our relationship with Allah without the distraction of the world. Now, I'm not saying that that's great that, maybe, if you lost your job and your bills aren't getting paid. Of course, those are real concerns. But this verse, again, it highlights what he calls what? طَبِيعَةُ الْإِنسَانِ. This is a central aspect of nature of the human being. That their relationship with their Lord is what? فِي الْغَنَاءِ وَالْمَالِ وَالْوَلَدِ, right? Just acquiring things, right? So, inshallah, let's try to use this opportunity so that in the verse that follows, right, if Allah has mercy on us and lifts us, that we really show our gratitude through a shift in behavior, a shift in mindset, a shift in worldview. As Allah says, وَلَئِنْ أَذَقَنَا رَحْمَةً مِنَّا. And then, when some evil befalls them, right? And when they call and ask for help, right? And then we alleviate, وَأَذَقَنَا رَحْمَةً مِنَّا, and they taste some relief or some mercy from us. مِنْ بَعْدِ ضَرَّاءٍ مَسَّتْهُ لَيَقُولَنَّ هَذَا لِي. Don't be like the kind of person that says, well, I deserve to have this relief all along. Versus, Ya Allah, thank you for relieving, and let me show this gratitude. And even in the in-between time, I will try to increase my ibadah and my dhikr and my awareness of you. He says, what? لَا يَقُولَنَّ هَذَا لِي مَا أَظُنُّ سَاعَةَ قَائِمًا. Not only does he say, well, I deserve and I'm entitled to this relief, but I also don't think that the hour, that either my death or the final hour, the day, I don't think it will ever come, right? He says, لا يقولون هذا لي وما أظن الساعة قائمة ولئن رجعت إلى ربي, right? And even if it happens to come, I will return to my Lord, وعنده للحسنى, and I will have the best of rewards. Meaning that most people are full of wishful thinking. They want to have everything without having to do their part. Allah has commanded us to do certain things, to pray and fast and, be honest and be charitable and so on. And this kind of person is saying, well, I deserve to have good no matter what, right? I don't really think the hour will come, but if it does, well, I'm sure I will go back to Allah in the best of standing anyway, and I will get not thinking that I'm going to go back and be repaid for what I did, right? So keeping in mind that, while we're here, even in COVID-19, even if you are, furloughed or laid off, right? You're still earning your hisab, you're still earning your akhirah with Allah, and it's just a question of which currency are you earning? Are you earning the dinar of Jannah or the dinar of Jahannam, right? So to speak. So anyway, I will open it up to any questions or comments, inshallah, that you had on anything that we covered here in the...
Finish this first.
One of these days, I'm going to make a mixtape. I'm gonna make a mixtape of every time I unmute and take all the sounds when I unmute and make them like a mixtape. Because there's always